All right, so this side of your notes should already be completed, and we are on page 66 with blood vessels. The blood vessels can be thought of as highways your blood uses to move through your body. The three kinds of blood vessels are arteries, capillaries, and veins. Each one has structures that help it do its job. So as we read through, you're just going to be writing down the definition of the vocabulary words as we read. So arteries are blood vessels that carry blood away from your heart to other parts of your body. So right away in your notes, you can write that down, that they carry blood away from your heart to other parts of your body. Arteries have thick, muscular walls that stretch when the heart pushes blood. Arteries branch into smaller and smaller tubes. Almost every artery carries blood with lots of oxygen. So as you're seeing this, you can see artery here. It's a thick wall, so you see that in your book. And then we're going to keep talking about your smallest arteries branch to become the smallest blood vessels. So arteries keep going and going and going, and finally they branch to capillaries, the smallest kind of blood vessel. So I'm going to write smallest just so that I remember that. And then we want to know what its job is. Side by side, 10 of these tiny blood vessels are barely as thick as one hair. So it's not just talking about like one piece of hair like this. It'd be if you found one strand that you can't even see on the camera, 10 of those capillaries aren't even as thick as that. Some capillaries are so narrow that red blood cells flow through them in a single file line. They can't even be next to each other, and we know that those blood cells are so tiny. The walls of capillaries are only 1 cell thick. Gases pass through these thin walls. Oxygen moves from the blood in your capillaries to your cells. Carbon dioxide and other waste go in the other direction. They move from your cells to the blood in your capillaries. So capillaries, their job is that they basically do the moving of all the blood. So we've got capillaries work to get oxygen from your blood to your capillaries to your cells. So the oxygen in your capillaries goes then to your cells. So it carries oxygen and gets rid of waste. We then go on to the veins. So capillaries join together to form your tiniest veins. Veins are blood vessels that take blood from cells back to the heart. So it takes blood from cells back to your heart. So we've got your arteries that carry it from your heart to your blood or to other body parts, and then the veins bring it back to your heart. These tiny veins join many times to form larger and larger veins, and veins you can sometimes see a lot of times in your arm. So when they take blood from your arm, you can see them sometimes in your arm. They look dark blue, but those are your veins coming together to create larger veins. Veins have valves. Valves are flaps that act like doors. So I'm just going to write that down, flaps that act like doors. Like doors, keep blood flowing in one direction. Valves open to allow blood to flow to the heart, and they close if the blood begins to flow away from the heart. Arteries and capillaries do not have valves. The pumping of the heart keeps the blood flowing in the right direction through the arteries and capillaries. So I am going to write underneath that veins and valves work together. And that's it. That the valves don't belong to the capillaries or the arteries. So these are just the different parts of your blood, but they all work together to do one job, which is to keep the blood flowing in all the right places of your body, and then come together to make sure that your heart's got plenty enough blood also. So you can look through here to see the different parts of your blood through the veins, the arteries, and the capillaries. And then on this page, it just kind of gives you a picture of the circulatory system. So you can see the veins are in the red, the thicker part of the red. The arteries then thin out, and then your heart. So how it all works, it goes all throughout your body. Alright, and then we're going to go to the parts of your heart, which is going to be a new section in your notes. So the parts of your heart get a little bit confusing, but it comes down to 4 different parts, which we will see. Your heart began pumping before you were born and will pump as long as you live. The heart is divided into 2 sides. Each side works as a separate pump and sends blood along different paths. The right side pumps blood to the lungs. In the lungs, the blood gets oxygen and gives up carbon dioxide. The blood then flows to the left side of the heart. The left side pumps the blood through the arteries to the body. So the 2 sides of your heart are working separately, but in the end, they're going to be still working together. So the heart is divided into 2 sides, and they work separate from each other. The right side is the one that we'll talk about first. So the right side pumps blood to the lungs. And that's really important because without your lungs, you wouldn't be able to breathe. And then in the lungs, so once your blood gets to the lungs, the blood gets oxygen and gives up carbon dioxide, because your heart and your lungs, your body doesn't need carbon dioxide in it, but it needs the oxygen. So it gets oxygen and the carbon dioxide moves out of your body. And then when we move to the left side pumps the blood through arteries to the body. So the left side gets it to the rest of your body, because we know those arteries work to all the other parts of your body. And then we're going to keep reading, but each side of the heart has 2 parts. And so we're going to see that as we go on, that each side has 2 parts. And so it's kind of broken into 4. So we've got the left side, the right side, and then each of those are broken into an upper and lower part. So each side of the heart has 2 parts. The upper part of each side is an atrium. The lower part is a ventricle. Each ventricle is larger and more powerful than the atrium. So just looking at our notes then, so the upper part is the atrium. And if you know what an attic is in your house, maybe you have an attic in your house, maybe you don't, but the attic is the way upstairs, it's above all the bedrooms. And so attic, atrium, upper, you can think that that's upper. And then the lower part is the ventricle. And then we know that the ventricle, the downstairs, that is going to be larger and stronger. Many small blood vessels are in the muscles of your heart. The blood in these vessels gives the muscles oxygen, food, and water. In one form of heart disease, these vessels get clogged and blood cannot reach the heart muscles. So if you end up getting sometimes heart diseases, it clogs all the blood so that it's not flowing through and working together. And then all of a sudden your heart is not getting the blood that it needs and it can't do its job. Not all hearts are alike. The hearts of most reptiles have only 3 parts or chambers. Fish have 2 chambers, where we have the 4 chambers. How the heart pumps blood. You can read through this, but the basic way of heart pumping blood is the left and the right atrium, so that's the upper part, they pump. Then the 2 ventricles pump, and then a short rest period, and the pattern is repeated. So it pumps, quick break, and then it's repeated and repeated and repeated. Whereas the blood's still flowing all throughout your body. And during your life, your heart might beat almost 3 billion times. So there are a ton of times that your heart beats. If you would like to read through this page just goes through kind of the steps of your heart beating, and you can see that it doesn't look like a normal heart that we see on Valentine's Day. The heart looks a lot different than that. So you can take some time to read through that. Once you're done, these notes on both sides should be completed, and we're going to move to our worksheet for today. And we just have the one worksheet. This top part is, you can look through your notes. So if you're looking on this side, it's going to match up with this. So make sure that you're looking at this. And then you've got some true and false. We'll walk through 2 of those together. 3 types of blood cells are red blood cells, white blood cells, and blue blood cells. Looking back on our notes, the types of blood cells are red, platelets, and white. So I know that right away there are no blue blood cells, so that's false. Plasma carries food from the digestive system to your body cells. So we can look around. I'm going to look. Plasma makes up more than half of your blood. Plasma carries food from the digestive system to your cells. So plasma does carry food, so I know that that is true. And then I want to do this one with you guys. The platelets form a sticky clot when a blood vessel is cut. I do know that looking back on my notes, platelets, their job is to form blood clots. So I know that that is true. So the rest you are doing on your own. Make sure that you do number 9. It says, describe the path blood takes through the parts of the heart from where it starts, where it enters the right atrium, where it enters the right atrium to when it enters the left atrium. So you can look at on page 69, and that's going to help you. So the right atrium relaxes and fills with blood. So the right atrium is filling the blood, carrying waste, so you're getting rid of the carbon dioxide, and then it goes to the right ventricle. So basically, if you start in these steps, go right atrium, right ventricle, left atrium, left ventricle.